What's up, Andrew? Pied Piper. What's up? Oh, what's up, JT? I can see you there. I'm gonna make sure the slides are in order real quick before anybody approaches. Yeah, I know, thanks. I actually got the idea from Execrate Andrew from the Execrate 200. He's actually the one that I seen do this first with the ping pong ball and the slinky. So I figured I'd make like a, a concise version of that, explaining what we're seeing, right? And also, showing the free fall in slow-mo, So yeah, I think it was good. Alright, this is rigged. Alright, I guess I'll get started real quick. So since my last video, the first part at least of the last video was removed, I'm just gonna go over what I went over in that video in the beginning, which was the tides and gravity not being a force, right? So that's why the title of this video is that, because I already went over it in the last live stream, but it got removed. So I'm gonna go over it again, just to highlight the point. Oh, you guys want to take some information with you? No? Okay. All right. So when we're talking about the tides, so this is our understanding of the tides. So this is what the tides are. The definitions of the tides. Huh? What happened to the chat? Oh, here it is. Huh. Oh, okay. Okay. So when we're talking about the tides is basically, it's the difference in height between the high tide and the low tide is called, oh, I don't have the normal chat up there, huh? Let me try to put that up. Shoot. No. I gotta remove the normal chat. Shit. I can't believe I forgot to do this. Oh my god, how did I turn the live chat out last time? Right here. Hide chat view. Okay. Okay, hopefully the chat can come out on the screen now because it wasn't coming out. And I have my other phone out just in case. Okay, there we go. No, I got it. I can see your messages now on the screen. All right, cool. So the difference in height between the high tide and the low tide is called the tidal range. Even the mainstream acknowledges this. It's a horizontal movement of water, often accompanied by the rising and falling of the tides. So again, even the mainstream acknowledges that the tides is basically a horizontal movement of water. Meaning, you know, water is still level because it's being contained and there's a force being applied, but there's a horizontal movement of the water. You know what I'm saying? So when we're looking at the tidal range, what is the tidal range, right? So the typical tidal range in the open ocean is about one. You guys want to give it a shot? It takes a few minutes.
Oh, sure.
It's three very easy elementary level questions, right?
Okay.
So they have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a bottle like this and it's at rest, the water will always go down and push the air to the top, right? Regardless of the orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Water always goes down and pushes the air to the top, right? That's a fact. So since we understand that fact about water, you know, how I'm showing you these two water bottles, I painted the water blue just to make it easier to see, more apparent. But since we understand how water behaves, which one of these two water bottles is not in the correct orientation? So if we understand water always goes down and pushes air to the top, which one is not in the correct orientation? You got it. Where did you pick number 2?
Why number 2?
Yeah.
I mean, because he's holding it. He's, you know, the water's at the bottom. Yeah. This doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So I actually took this one like that.
Yeah.
So I took it holding it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got it. Really easy, right? So the second one's actually pretty easy as well. So another thing about water is that it always finds its level. Have you ever heard of water always finds its level?
Yeah.
So again, we could deviate the container, you know, but the surface always levels out, right?
Yes.
What could be another word for level? You got to use a different word.
Balance.
Balance is a good one. So the one word definition will be horizontal, right? Because we could have a straight line, but if it's in a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line, right? And water shows us that. That's why there's an air bubble with liquid, right?
Yeah.
So since we understand what level means, and water always finds its level when it's contained and at rest, which one of these two represents water level as we know it when the water is at rest and contained? A or B?
This one.
A, right? That's the obvious one, right? You agree? Right, because again, there's no deviation, right? This one has deviation, so it's obvious, right?
Yeah.
So this last one is the hardest one, and this one we're basically going to test your vision, right? So I have two images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them is a photograph, and one of them is a painting. I mean, CGI. You guys know what CGI is?
Yeah.
Yeah, CGI, right? So which one is the photograph from these two?
I would say that
So which one's the fake one?
Yeah, which one's the fake one and which one's the photograph? There's one that's real, one real photograph.
looking at everything.
Photograph? I'd say this one.
This one too? Okay.
Just pick one.
No, well, I need to think about everything.
Yeah, I look at it really good, right?
So, This one's real.
Okay. What would you guys say this one? Because all of you picked this one. Why did you pick this one?
First, I was looking at the clouds here, how they move. That was inclining me to pick this one. But it's just the view. The view of the glove, on this compared to this one. This feels, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, no, that's understandable. So, it's actually a trick question. They're both CGI. So so I don't expect you guys to get this one, obviously, because it's impossible to tell when you're just looking at images. But there is 3 reasons why I asked this question, right? The first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you believe me that one's a photograph, that influenced your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe someone,
Because you're just asking us to pick one.
Exactly, yeah. But you believe me that one's a photograph as well, right? The fact is they're both CGI. So the second reason why I asked this question is if we want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I show you an image of me walking on water or me flying, would you believe I could do those things? No, right? Exactly, with Photoshop and CGI nowadays, with movies, right? Hollywood, we can't trust anything that's in an image, especially if it contradicts physics, right? So the main reason why I'm doing this is, believe it or not, but photographs of the Earth actually don't exist. So these are official NASA images. This one's from 2002 and this one's from 2012, and they admit that they make these in a computer. So a real photograph from the Earth doesn't exist. And the real reason for that is because these actually defy physics. You guys want to know how we know that? So NASA, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? And that's why they supposedly take pictures and then put them in Photoshop, right, to make this. So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it, right? So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. And every mile it increases because they're claiming it's a curve and not a slope. So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across and the water's at rest, we should be able to physically measure that curvature, but the water's going to show us that it's not going to be any curvature.
This is you about believing that
it's not a
Earth
belief.
Is flat.
The Earth is not flat, by the way. It's not flat. So there's a big difference between flat and level. So flat has nothing to do with orientation. Again, you could have a straight line.
Yeah, but those experiments that you are mentioning about the lake, they have been done.
Yeah, using lasers. I would say flat Earth is a psyop because there is a lot of controlled opposition. This is the #1 censor topic online right now. And to be honest, out of the hundreds and hundreds of different channels I came across, only one channel that's genuine in my opinion, but everything is just controlled and misinformation. So how long ago did you hear about this, if I may ask?
No, I believe in science.
Science. So this is science. This is physics.
This is finding information that is gonna make your point, valid.
Okay.
But to me, it's just there's more.
Do you believe the Earth is a globe? If I may ask. Okay. So if I was to ask you, what's the #1 experiment or science? What's the #1? That convinces you that it's a ball? What science convinces you that it's a ball?
I'm not gonna, like, if you tell me, hey, we're gonna meet in a week, I'll prepare myself with information so I can present it to you. But right now, you have information, to tell me this is what I believe and this is what is fact based on what you believe.
Well, again,
and I don't think you're wrong. That's you. But
I would say
I have. There's no doubt for me that.
There's no doubt, but then I ask, what makes you convinced 100% that it's about what?
Everything that I have learned, throughout my life.
Okay, what's one thing out of everything that you've learned?
So, for sure, you don't believe that, the man landed on the moon, right? For sure, that's...
So again, that's a movie, like we said. It could be easily fake, with movie production. So again, when we're talking about the Earth's physical measurements, we're talking about physics. That's what physical means, physics, right? So the physics of water, again, water doesn't have the ability to hump itself.
You see, it becomes to the point that it's pretty much religion.
No. This is science, though. But if you want to...
But, it is, because I'm not going to change the way you think.
No.
But, your information right now is really not going to change.
I know, I'm not going to convince you in 5 minutes. I get it. I don't know how old you are, but your whole life you've been told that it's a ball. So I'm not going to convince you in 5 minutes. I get it. It took me months to accept this as well when I came across it 6 years ago.
Only months? And you're already,
I'm an open-minded person. I like to think I'm open-minded. So, again, if I was to tell you...
Thank you for the information, but we have to go.
Okay. Well, I acknowledge that the globe Earth is a belief. The Earth being level is not. That's science. But I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with that. So if you guys want to check my information, I go to universities and have conversations with students. You guys can check them out.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. Thank you.
No. Well, you're the parents. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right. No problem. All right. Cognitive dissonance kicked in hard. The cognitive dissonance kicked in hard right there. I didn't even get to explain the curvature thing, and it's just flat Earth. Boom, wall. You know, that's what happens. That's what the mainstream did already. And again, all these channels that are just focusing on fucking angles of the stars and measuring angles of the sun and all this fucking bullshit to fucking prove they're flat Earth are fucking retards. Because you know, people like this guy that was just here, he's came across information like that. I'm pretty sure. How else are you gonna hear about flat Earth? Maybe he heard about other stuff, right? But he's never heard about the physics of water. You know, that's for sure. Especially being presented like this, you know, right in front of you and showing the curvature, you know, the physical measurement of that, how it would look like, right? People haven't really been presented this information this way. So because he had all that ideas, I guess, about what flat Earth is, he automatically shut it down once it started to make sense. You know, it was pretty crazy, you know, how he defended it like pretty, like without even questioning it. Like, it's crazy. He couldn't even give me a proof though that of what he believes the Earth is a ball. I guess because of the moon landing, he mentioned the moon landing, so I would assume that's why he believes it. But yeah, it's fine. Yeah. For the majority of people, I hate to say it, that believe in the globe, have that kind of mentality. Even though most people don't display it here, or you know, like, you know, at least that to that extent, most people have that mentality. You know, they already have a preconceived idea of what flat Earth is. You know, and yeah, it's ridiculous. It's my opinion again that whenever this blew up on the internet, which was like 2015, 2016, right? In my opinion, it was a controlled release. You know, maybe real people were starting to talk about it, right? And eventually, with social media growing and all these different platforms, eventually somebody real was going to start to reach other people, right, with this information. So what did they do? They got, you know, different gurus and different people, you know, to come out with all of this information all at once, right? It's kind of weird, but all of this information came out all at once in a way, and now, you know, people are being swayed to basically different models and different proofs and things that just make the whole flat Earth look ridiculous. You know? Hi, you guys want to give it a shot?
What is like questions or something?
Yeah, 3 very easy elementary level. See if you guys can get 2 out of 3. Yeah, you guys can so.
Is it a team?
Yeah, you guys can do it together. Yeah. So it has to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a bottle like this, right, and it's at rest, the water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, right, regardless of the orientation. It's pretty simple, right? Since we understand that fact about water when it's at rest and contained, how I'm showing you these two, by the way, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it more apparent. But how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, which one is not in the correct orientation? Since we
this one, right?
Yeah, you got it. You agree?
See, mijo? See?
Yeah, right. Why did you say number 2? Just, I guess.
Because water's denser than air.
Exactly.
Gravity.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, pretty easy, right? So the second one's actually pretty easy as well. It's another thing about water, it always finds its level, right? When it's at rest, especially. So I could deviate the bottle, but water always finds its level. Exactly. What could be another word for level? If I had to use a different word.
Threshold.
So if we had a level surface, how can we describe that surface?
Sea level?
I think that's a good term, but the one word definition,
The base?
the one word definition for level will be horizontal. Because I could have a straight line, but if in a slope, it's not level, right? It has to be a horizontal straight line. That's why these are called levels, right? Exactly. So since we understand that fact about water as well, when it's contained and at rest, always finds its level. Which one of these 2 represents level as we know it when it comes to the water? A or B?
Well, A.
Yes, the obvious one, right? Again, no deviation in elevation, right? This one has deviation, right? So you already got 2. That's pretty easy, right? So this last one's actually the hardest one.
Okay.
So I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them is CGI. So I want to see if you guys could tell which one of these 2 is the photograph.
Photograph?
Yeah, you guys know what CGI is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so which one is the photograph?
Aquí. Ya vamos con respeto.
Which is the picture and which one's the photograph?
Which one's the photograph?
CGI. want to see why it would be.
Wait, which one's computer generated and which one's a real
Photograph.
live shot? Vénganse para acá, niños. I think this is the real one.
Okay.
Vente, Isa.
I don't know which one's more proportional. Because I know on a globe, they're
You
not,
can pick them up too if you want to look
they're
at them
not the
closer.
correct proportions on a map. But in real life, I want to say.
I mean, if you want to guess, go for it.
I was gonna say this one.
Okay.
Because this one looks so much like a globe map.
Okay.
Like a globe, and I know that's not really a
good
direct
depiction?
indication.
Okay,
Yeah, I know
okay.
it's just
Alright.
it's more like yeah.
So, alright, so this is actually a trick question. They're both CGI.
Oh.
So I don't expect you guys to get this one, obviously, because it's impossible to tell, right? When you're
Unless
just
I've been
looking.
up there and
Exactly. So there is 3 reasons why I asked this question, though. The first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you guys believing that once a photograph, that influences your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe someone blindly, right?
Yeah.
So the second reason is if we want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I show you an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you guys believe I could do those things?
It's not direct.
Again, it defies physics. Me walking on water, right? Again, I'm more denser than water. You know, again, that defies physics. So again, we shouldn't trust an image, especially if it defies physics, right? So the third reason why I'm doing this, and the main reason why I'm doing this, is because do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Our physics teacher thought it was flat.
So what do you guys think?
Personally, it's not that I believe it. It's what we've been given. So even if you don't
Oh, so it's what you were told.
even if you don't believe it, you have to go based off that. If you wanna
So if you don't believe it, you have
work
to.
within society.
Okay.
You don't have to believe it. Like you could believe it's not.
Yeah.
But you still have to talk to people like it is because that's the way you're gonna be accepted into.
Okay.
If you're talking to your boss, you're talking to your teacher,
I see.
you're talking to your
So it's like
company.
social pressure.
Yes,
You have to
exactly.
accept it.
Socially, even if you don't accept it personally, you have to speak to others like you.
So you're
Because be confined within social.
I agree. So the real reason why photographs of the Earth don't exist is because they defy physics. You know, so the way we know it, they defy physics is because NASA claims they have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it, which they do tell us is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile has to increase because they're claiming it's a curve, not a slope, right? So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile they should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we actually went out to a giant lake that was miles across, we should be able to measure this curvature. 6 feet in 3 miles, but water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel. Because that's the physics of water.
Yeah,
water cannot hump itself.
The Earth under even if the Earth under is round, water's not going to.
Exactly, but that's the thing though. These images defy the physics of water because water cannot bend. Water's not like jello where it can support itself.
You guys can get going. This is interesting. You guys can go get going.
As long as she checks in for the reservation.
Yeah, so this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement, right, of a lake, for example, because a water on a lake could be, at rest.
Yeah.
And then again, a physical measurement will show that there's no deviation in elevation, right? So if I was to ask you respectfully, what's the #1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
But isn't like the size of something doesn't have something a lot?
You're saying the scale, we shouldn't be able to
on the
see
scale,
it.
Yeah, like
I
our
agree.
eyes can only see so far. So like if something's so big, you can't see the end of it, or you can't see. It just depends on the scale you're looking at.
I see. So if we're looking at a mile of water, right, like a lake of mile, I agree, 8 inches in that first mile, we probably wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye, and it'd be kind of really hard to measure it, right?
But we
But
could
once,
probably see like what 50 miles in or something.
but that's the thing, once we keep extending the structure, that curvature gets more drastic the more miles we go out. So in 10 miles, it should be 66 feet. So that's like a 6-story building in 10 miles. There's lakes that are over 20 miles easy. So that curvature should be there measurably, right? But the fact is, again, that's a physical impossibility for water to be able to do that. So again, the water is the #1 proof to debunk the globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
water.
It makes sense.
You want to know the biggest lie that's bigger than the shape of the Earth that actually fuels this whole model? Do you believe that objects accelerate down in freefall when you release one?
Do they accelerate? I don't think they accelerate. I think it's the same.
You think it's a constant?
That's what we're told. It's a constant.
So if you jump off, like, I'm not saying you, but like if somebody jumped off a building from 1 story, is it going to be the same impact if you jump from 10 stories?
It depends. If there's no variables, yes.
Well,
That's what we're taught. But if there's air resistance and there's depends how flat the object is, depends.
But there is a change of rate the higher you drop something. Would you agree or disagree with that? Like if you drop something from here, it's not that great, but if you drop it from higher, it'll probably break my phone. Right? Would you agree that there's a higher rate of speed that's detected, the higher something is dropped?
I've never done the math. I've never really.
Have you heard of the?
I would say no. I would say no, but now that you mention the phone, like I say, the impact.
Have you heard of the equation 9.8 meters per second squared?
I probably have. I haven't done.
It's what
I've been fucking math and physics. And
yeah,
stuff.
so they measured. I don't know if you've seen the bowling ball and feather experiment when they drop them together. So they measured a rate of drop, right? Then they basically came up with 9.8 meters per second squared. So they're claiming that there's an acceleration down, right? That's why there's a bigger impact. The reality is, gravity as a force that accelerates this to the floor, that doesn't exist. The reality is, when you release this, it's the Earth and that's coming up to meet it. So gravity doesn't make this phone accelerate to the Earth. Gravity is the motion of the Earth. So that's why Earth is level. Earth is not flat, because flat has nothing to do with orientation. And in order for something to have orientation, it needs to have motion. It needs to have direction, right? So the Earth has orientation. It's level, perpendicular to the motion. So again, when you release an object, it's just the Earth that comes up to meet it again. This doesn't accelerate down. And there's experiments that show there's no acceleration down.
That's a cool theory, and that's gravity is not really it's not a fact.
It's not a force, and it's a theory, exactly.
It's a theory
because
also. So either you can be right or not you. I don't know
No,
if you
no,
came
yeah.
up with this, but it makes sense with the way you're explaining.
exactly, and that's why gravity.
Or the other is a theory.
Yeah.
So and the other ways.
Exactly.
Too,
So again, water, it levels out perpendicular to the motion vector. We know this too because if you were to accelerate this in any direction, the water would deviate, right? Because water deviates relative to the motion, right? Again, water being level shows us that Earth is in motion. You know what I'm saying? So that's the number one lie, believe it or not, because a lot of controlled opposition, flat earthers, they call themselves, right? They claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny there's a cost to why things fall. So I don't know if you ever hear, oh, flat earthers are gravity deniers or physics deniers. They are.
Yeah.
But that's the controlled opposition, though. The reality is the Earth has motion. So that's the cause of gravity. Or, you know.
Well, technically, like the way scientists explain it, physics explain it, there is motion because the universe is expanding supposedly. And again, I say supposedly because I'm not a physicist.
Right.
I'm not actually doing the math and stuff.
Right.
I haven't taken physics in so long. But
So-
if you use logic and the way things are explained, it says the universe is expanding infinitely, so we are technically moving.
Sure, but here's the thing though. If when we release an object and it's the Earth that comes up to meet it and not the object that goes down towards the Earth, how would that work from a globe? Like if the Earth is moving up towards the objects, that would mean it would have to be growing.
Yes, how do you know what direction it's going?
Exactly.
If not everything is moving at the and everything would be moving, but in what direction? Because if you technically could say it was moving in one direction, everything would go the opposite direction.
But that's the thing though. If the
mass?
if we could prove that it's the Earth pressing up against us and it's not us pressing down against the Earth, right? From a globe perspective, that would mean the Earth would have to be
Everything is
pressing up
pushing out,
exactly, which means
if it was, let's say it was moving. Let's say, okay, the Earth is moving. If it was moving one direction, everything would move the other because of the mass, right?
it would have to be moving 360 degrees outward.
Yeah, it would have to
Yeah.
be in order to prove that everything's pushing out, or the
Exactly.
Earth is pushing out.
Yeah. But if it's a level plane, you only need one direction to give everything gravity.
Yes, if it's one way.
Exactly. So it's just doing
But
this.
if it was one way, wouldn't there be like ends?
Well, that's the thing. If you ask me, so they claim outer space is a negative pressure, and in Earth we have air pressure, right?
Yeah.
So air pressure, I don't know if you knew this, is basic physics, requires containment. So if you have a tire, for example, or a soda pop, there's a higher pressure in that container than the outside pressure. What happens when you open the...
It'd be like the ozone and everything.
Yeah, exactly. They explain that it's gravity holding in the air from space from going out to outer space. The fact is, air pressure requires containment, which shows me that the air on Earth is being contained by a physical barrier somehow. I don't know what that physical barrier looks like, but what's outside of the Earth, like the universe are telling, that is a theory. So what's outside of the Earth, nobody actually knows. So the stars and the planets that they show us, again, they only show us CGI like this for Mars, for example, or Jupiter. But the reality is, this is what Mars looks like. They're just lights in the sky. You know, they're no different than the stars. So these are the stars.
Yeah.
And again, could you?
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
You got the table already? Monday? Okay. I gotta take off. Hopefully you're still here by the time I get out.
Here you go. You can check me out right
I'm
there.
not a smart guy, but I
No,
like,
trust me, you are.
I like
You are.
learning and I like
Appreciate the chat, man.
you know what I mean? Rationalizing. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man.
Hopefully you're still here.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. see. All right, let me finish the tides real quick, cause again. Okay, real quick. I'm gonna go over it again. The difference in height between the high tide and low tide is called the tidal range, a horizontal movement of water. Again, the mainstream acknowledges this, right? A horizontal movement of water, which accompanies the rising and falling of the tide, right? So the tidal range, the typical tidal range in the open ocean is about 1 meter, 3 feet. It's the average, right? Closer to the coast, this is much greater, and can vary globally, and can differ anywhere from near zero to over 52 feet. So again, I've been getting messages about people like telling me, oh, this lake is connected to the ocean and it doesn't show many deviation and all that, but there are a lot of parts on Earth where there's 0 to no deviation, even though it's connected to the ocean. And I would say because they're closer to the center of the deviation, you could say. But again, there's evidence of the tidal range being at different heights and different places. So for example, this is only like a few feet in deviation from the high tide and the low tide, not much different. We have this one, it's a bit more of the difference in deviation. This one's more like 15 to 20 feet, maybe more, maybe. But again, it's the difference in height is different. It's not a constant all around. It's like a gradient. The tidal range is a gradient. And then here, we can see that there's a big difference in the tides from high tide and low tide. Again, it's a horizontal movement of water when it comes to the tides, right? So, the globe Earth wants to tell us that this is what the tides are, right, on a globe. But not only does this defy physics when it comes to water being level or horizontal, it actually defies their own definition of the tides, right, being a horizontal movement of water, because this is not a horizontal movement of water, right? This is retarded, for lack of a better term, right? So, if you understand that the Earth is a level plane, whether you think it's motionless or not, you have to accept that this is what the water is doing. It's a horizontal movement of water. And this is a more accurate, I guess you could say, picture, right, or image of what the tides actually are. Now, the deviation is so minute, the degree in change is so minute that if I was actually to actually put it into scale here, that red line would actually just look like it's parallel to the surface of water. That's how minute the degree of change is relative to the Earth's size. But right here I made it more apparent so you could see what I'm talking about, that there's a high tide on one side and it decreases, it's a gradient all the way to near zero, and then you get the opposite effect on the opposite coasts. It's a horizontal movement of water. So, since we understand water is level or perpendicular to the motion vector, when we change the vector of water, when we add a horizontal acceleration to water when it's contained, we can deviate the water because there's a new vector now. So again, water reacts to motion. That's a fact. And again, another fact is that water is always perpendicular to the direction of the vector, right? So, if Earth was motionless, then there wouldn't be a change in the vector. So, the water will always remain level and there wouldn't be a high tide and a low tide if the Earth was motionless, right? The fact is, the water is reorientating itself, and again, water being level is relative to the motion. So in my opinion, based on how water behaves, the Earth is not moving in a straight line. Alright? So I know people have been misrepresenting me and saying that I say that the Earth wobbles. No. What I'm going to say is, based on how water behaves, is showing that the Earth is not moving in a straight line. So it could be fixed, but it's not moving in a straight line because there's a horizontal movement of water. There's a reorientation of water, which shows there's a change in the vector. So again, water shows us that, and then how water behaves is an understanding, right? So I know people wanted to had some opinions about the tides that they wanted to share, and I'm gonna look at the chat now just to see if there's anything. But yeah, I don't claim the earth wobbles. The earth is fixed, in my opinion, but not in a straight line. So because it's not in a straight line, in my opinion, the water is reorientating relative to the motion vector, which again, it's not a straight line because there's a horizontal movement of water that we can experience. So, all right, let me go back a bit, read some comments. So what on earth? The Ubercast, so what the earth moving through? What's outside of the earth, the medium that's outside of the earth, you know, that is unknown. Nobody knows. So that still doesn't detract from the fact of, you know, that water's level relative to motion. So eventually everyone just sounds like everyone else. Regurgitating the same place. Red Scotland. Eventually everyone just sounds like everyone else, regurgitating the same phrases, few of which they can prove or disprove themselves. What do you mean by that? Like, can you... I mean, a lot of people do regurgitate, motionless flat earthers, globe earthers, you know. So you're right, there's a lot of regurgitation going on. Not here though, you know. It might sound regurgitation to someone because they might not like it, but I mean, it's the reality. So, again, that's an easy explanation of the tides with the Earth's motion, you know. It just shows that it's not moving in a straight line. That's it. You know, I don't know the model, I don't know the speed, I don't know the angle, you know, degree of change, you know, all of that. It's so minute that you wouldn't be able to measure a degree of change, you know. Again, the closest thing, you know, like, for example, if you had a plumb line right here next to this structure, right, when it's low tide, if you had a plumb line, right, you should be able to see if it's, you know, 90 degrees from the water, right? If you have a plumb line fixed right there, right, you should be able to, you know, okay, boom, 90 degrees, plumb level, right? Now when it's high tide 6 hours later, that plumb line, you're not gonna be able to measure a deviation in the levelness of water. You know, it's because it's so minute. The difference in degree is gonna be so minute. So the only thing we could measure is the difference in height. You know, that's easily measurable, obviously, because water is level. So that horizontal movement of water, the difference in height is measurable, but the degree of change won't be. It's so minute. You just wouldn't be able to measure it. It's like 0.0001 degree every 6 hours, right? For people trying to dismiss it and try to say that, oh, we should be able to measure the degree, you know, no. We could see the horizontal movement of water, the change in elevation. That shows us that there's a deviation and a reorientation of water, you know. However, if you believe the earth is motionless, then whatever force is making the water stick to the earth, it has to be the same force that's making the water wobble, right? On a motionless flat earth, the water has to wobble to account for the high tide and low tide. There's no running away from that. You know, the water has to wobble, you know, in order to compensate for that, you know, and you're gonna need a force for that. Water doesn't move on its own. So you're gonna need a force on a motionless flat earth to explain the high tide and low tide, you know, and that's just retarded to me, you know. But yeah, let me see if there's anything recent. One man has detected, but some lakes are so large they are like small seas, but they don't have tides. I would just say, again, the oceans display this horizontal because it's all one, it's all connected, right? If you have if these lakes, again, if they're closer to the center, again, the high tide, it goes from 52 feet down to near zero. So yeah, you could have a large body of water, and I would say that if they're near zero, they're either closer to the center, where you won't be able to notice any deviation, close to no deviation, or they're simply probably not being, they're independent, right? Again, these are just postulations about these other phenomenon of lakes not deviating, right? Or there not being tides on lakes, right? JC, what's the best visual aid you all can think of to describe the deceleration of an object in free fall to someone who isn't getting it? This is what I've seen people getting hung up on the most. I know it's because most people think that it has to be a deceleration, like you braking your car, right? Like you slamming the brakes or stuff like that, right? The thing is that, again, we don't know the true cause of deceleration. There could be many things, you know. It could be something that's just naturally part of matter that just wants to be stationary, right? There could be other factors like the electromagnetic field that affects matter. You know, that could be the cause for the deceleration. So different things could be the cause of the deceleration. So yeah, I do get a lot of people get stuck on that for some reason, you know, but. Imran, I can totally see your point, Will, and I agree that the high tide and low tides proves that it's not moving in a straight line. Exactly. Another reason why it's important to highlight the high tide and low tides showing that it's not moving in a straight line, because a lot of people will bring up, oh, accelerometers only detect acceleration. So if an accelerometer detects acceleration here on Earth, then it has to be accelerating. In other words, getting faster, faster, and faster, right? But here's the thing. If there's a constant change in direction, then there is an acceleration while remaining at a constant speed. So again, if the Earth is not moving in a straight line, that would easily explain why accelerometers register acceleration on Earth, even though it's not getting faster and faster and faster, is because there's a constant change in direction, creating the constant acceleration while remaining at a constant speed. You know, that would explain why our weight doesn't increase and why accelerometers still register acceleration, because Earth is not moving in a straight line. You know, it's literally that simple. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it is important to understand that, in my opinion. Again, if you have something else to offer that can reorientate water, right, other than motion, then it's up to you to provide those experiments, right? You know, but we all know, you know, there's no force that can reorientate water other than motion of a container. You know what I'm saying? All right. So before I get to the next the video, again, just to prove the point, I'm gonna play the video I just uploaded. And again, this is for the people that believe weight and buoyancy, or weight in general, causes motion. So when people say, oh, why do things fall? Oh, it's because they're denser than the air. You know, that's why things fall. Anything that's denser than the air will fall, and anything that's less dense will rise, right? Apparently that's the cause. There's no other cause behind that. It's just, if it's apparently objects have weight, and based on their weight, if they're heavier than the medium that surrounds it, apparently that's what causes motion, apparently, supposedly, right? And buoyancy, same thing, right? So I'm just gonna go over this video real quick just to highlight how that is not true, because obviously we experience no weight and no buoyancy in free fall, but just to highlight. Oh, let me rewind that. Put this volume up. Okay.
A slinky will only stretch when there is a force being applied. You can test this for yourself. You cannot stretch the slinky without a force. This is something important to note, as it will make the following experiment much easier to understand. When we have a bottle with water and it's connected to the earth, we can experience weight and buoyancy, which are effects of a force or motion. For example, something that's more dense or heavier than the water by volume, like the slinky, will sink or appear to go down. And something that's less dense, like the ping pong ball, will get pushed to the top or float. If I glue the ping pong ball to the top of the slinky so it can be one unit, we can experience a density gradient. The more dense material at the bottom and the less dense at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is being stretched shows that there is a force present when connected to the earth. However, As soon as I released the bottle into freefall, the buoyant force of the ping pong ball and the weight of the slinky completely vanish along with the density gradient. The slinky is no longer at the bottom, and the ping pong ball is no longer at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is not being stretched shows that there's no force present. Acceleration requires a force. No force in freefall equals no acceleration in freefall.
So again, we can clearly test for ourselves that in freefall, as we can see here, there's no force acting on the bottle. Because if there was a force acting on the bottle, then it will be acting on the water, and then it will be acting on the ping pong ball and the slinky. But we can see that the slinky and the ping pong ball are not reacting to a force because there's no force. So the buoyant effect, the weight of the slinky, all of that vanishes because those are all effects of motion. You know, proving there's no acceleration down. Because if you're claiming motion, you have to claim acceleration. You know, if you're claiming motion down towards the earth, you have to claim acceleration. And if you're claiming acceleration, by default, you're claiming a force. But if we could prove that there's no force in freefall, then that means that there's no acceleration in freefall. So the mainstream acknowledges this, you know. So the fact that flat earthers are fucking stuck with this acceleration down, you know, just shows how far behind they are, right? So again, I'm gonna go over this video where the mainstream highlights the fact that there is no acceleration down in freefall. You know, the acceleration is up. Okay. So I'll let this play. I edited this down from 17 minutes down to about 6-7 minutes, just to highlight the main points. But here we go.
According to the general theory of relativity, gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. Gravity is kind of an illusion. And in this video, I will prove it to you by blasting off into outer space. Albert Einstein said the happiest thought of his life was imagining a man falling off the roof of a house. What made Einstein so happy about this wasn't Schadenfreude. It was the realization that this man was...
The Sute, we are dancers in vibrations. So what about the statics in the air and water? Well, the statics in the air, or the statics that's everywhere, could be the reason why we have a deceleration, you know. So again, I don't say that that doesn't exist, and I don't deny that that affects matter. What I deny is that electrostatics accelerating solids, liquids, and gas without any displacement. That's what I deny. Now, the static could be the cause for deceleration. So, yeah, that simple.
While he was falling, wouldn't feel his own weight. He would be weightless. And anything he dropped on his way down, well, it would remain stationary.
The Sute, just because you can't see the air you breathe, doesn't mean you're not breathing. Something I can't see, Max, is what is everything. That's the thing, that we can measure these things. The air pressure is measurable, the electromagnetic field is measurable, right? It's there. What I'm denying is that electrostatics is the cause for acceleration of gas, liquids, and solids without displacement. That's what I deny, you know, because that cannot be demonstrated, measured, or shown in any practical way, So again, we could breathe the air. Not only that, we could test it. We could manipulate it. We could increase the pressure, air pressure. We could decrease the air pressure, you know. So again, you don't have to believe it. It's physics. It can be tested.
Relative to him, or moving in uniform motion. The whole situation would be just like if you were in deep space, not near any large masses, with your spaceship at rest or coasting along at constant velocity. Here, you would feel no weight. Objects would remain stationary relative to you, or if you give them a push, they would move in a straight line at constant velocity. And you would be the very definition of an inertial observer. You're not accelerating, not in a gravitational field. All the laws of physics apply in your reference frame, meaning there is no experiment you could do to distinguish your inertial reference frame from any other. Now here comes the big leap. Einstein looks at these two scenarios and says they are equivalent, not just similar. Physically, they are exactly the same thing. which means man falling from roof is not in a gravitational field. There are no gravitational fields. And he is not accelerating. He is an inertial observer, just like Rocket Man. Whoa, whoa.
By the way, when what they mean when they're saying, "Oh, you're in a state of inertia," what they mean by that is that there are no forces acting on you. That's all that means. Oh, you're in a state of inertia. That means there's no forces acting on you. Which, in my opinion, in reality, we can show that when there's not a force acting on something, it starts to decelerate. You know, obviously there's other variables like air resistance and all that that would, increase the deceleration rate, right? But in reality, when something is in motion and there's a force being applied, as soon as you remove that force, there's a deceleration that happens. That's just a fact. So again, when they say, oh, inertia, things, because of its inertia, that means that there's no forces acting on it. So again, they're claiming deceleration without saying deceleration, again, but they call it inertia. And again, they changed this word of inertia to mean constant motion, which contradicts the claim that there's a change of rate, or that contradicts the fact that there's a change of rate per second the higher you drop something. That being a deceleration, or in their model, it will have to be an acceleration. But again, they don't claim it's an acceleration anymore. They claim it's a constant motion or inertia, right? So it's not accelerating, but it's still moving down. Retards. And again, when something is not in a state of inertia, it's non-inertial, that means there's a force acting on you. So when they say on Earth, when you're standing on Earth, they say you're in a non-inertial frame of reference because there is a force acting on you. You're in a non-inertial reference frame, or if you're in an inertial reference frame, it means that there's no forces acting on you. It's literally, again, they're just word saladating, changing definitions, and again, all just to trick, the onlooker.
Whoa. I mean, okay, I can see how both of these observers feel weightless, but man falling from roof is clearly in a gravitational field. I mean, he's right next to the Earth, and he's obviously accelerating. His speed is increasing by 9.8 meters per second every second, a fact that will become painfully apparent when he crashes into the ground. I know that these two situations look very different, but Einstein's equivalence principle tells us the one thing to focus on, the experience of the observer. If they feel weightless, then they are in an inertial frame of reference, every bit as good as Rocket Man's out drifting through deep space.
I'm actually live right now.
Now let's go back to deep space. What happens if you turn on the rocket thrusters and accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared? Well, someone outside would see all objects remain stationary, while the floor of the rocket accelerates into them. Inside the rocket, everything would appear to accelerate down to the ground, and you would feel a force pushing up on...
Again, this is also a misrepresentation, saying that, oh, it would have to be accelerating at 9.8 meters per second squared because that's what they supposedly measured in freefall, right? But again, what they measured was a deceleration rate when they released the feather or the bowling ball without any air in the vacuum. They measured a deceleration rate, and all they did was flipped it into an acceleration, and now they're claiming that if the Earth is moving, it has to be accelerating 9.8 meters per second squared to basically compensate for that change in rate, right, per second. But we know that if something is decelerating from a constant speed, there is going to be a change of rate the higher you drop something. It doesn't have to accelerate. It has to, it can simply be decelerating so we can observe those same effects. But again, this is the mainstream trying to misrepresent, again, by throwing this 9.8 meters per second square acceleration that nobody measured, by the way. And now they're kind of like, I guess you could say strawmanning, anybody that claims the Earth is in motion. Apparently you have to say that it's 9.8 meters per second squared, which is not true. It's part of the psyop.
Your feet, the same force that's pushing up on you as you watch this video. This situation feels exactly the same as being at rest on the surface of Earth.
It shouldn't, though. If they're claiming that it has to be the rocket has to be accelerating 9.8 meters per second squared, that would mean his weight will have to be increasing in that rocket. And my weight doesn't increase here on Earth. So again, they're misrepresenting but still saying that it's the same thing. They want people to accept this 9.8 meters per second square acceleration, which is bullshit.
because we are at rest on the surface of Earth. Now I want to ask you, are you watching this video in an inertial frame of reference? Well, I mean, do you feel weightless? No. So you are not an inertial observer. Your situation is exactly the same as someone accelerating on a rocket ship in deep space. And let me be clear, I don't mean that being at rest in a gravitational field is like accelerating in a rocket. I mean, it is the exact same thing. You are accelerating and there is no gravitational field. Gravitational fields do not exist. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but come with me for a minute. This is you. In standard Newtonian physics, we draw your weight force, the force of gravity pushing you down, and
Again, weight force. Like if it's a thing of its own, right? Again, this is what most people believe, that if something has weight, it just has weight by itself. Like
and the normal force from the floor pushing you up. We say these forces are equal and opposite, so there's no net force on you, so you are not accelerating. But in general relativity, gravity is not a force. You have no weight, so the only force on you are these normal forces pushing you up. So you are accelerating upwards, but I'm not moving up. Relative to what? I mean, relative to the flip chart and the floor and basically everything in this room. But all of those things are in your frame of reference, which you know is not inertial.
which means if you're moving, everything else is also moving. So you wouldn't be able to tell that you're moving independent from everything else, because you're not independent from everything else. You're attached to the earth, just like everything else in your room is attached to the earth. So if you're moving with the earth, then everything else that's attached to the earth is also moving, so you won't be able to see the earth's motion. You'll see it when you drop something. You know?
Relative to everything in my rocket ship, I'm not accelerating. What you need, if you really want to measure your acceleration, is someone in an inertial frame of reference, like the guy who fell off the roof. And he would see you accelerating up at 9.8 meters per second squared. I think what this shows is that what an acceleration really is it's a deviation from a geodesic. You can't follow a straight line path through space-time because the floor prevents you from doing that. It applies a force upwards on you, so you're accelerating up. But if I'm accelerating up, and so is everyone else around the world, and presumably the whole surface of the Earth, then shouldn't the Earth be expanding? No. It is possible for you to be accelerating even though your spatial coordinates are not changing. I will show you one equation from general relativity. This says that the second derivative of your position with respect to time is equal to your acceleration, that's just f on m, and if you were in flat space-time, well, this is exactly what you're saying. If you're accelerating, your spatial coordinates have to change. But you're not in flat space-time. And this term is related to the curvature of space-time, and this is your velocity through time squared. You don't have to worry about the details here. The point is, your position can be not changing.
You don't have to worry about the logic or the common sense. Just believe me. You don't have to understand this. Just believe me.
Can be zero, which means your acceleration must be exactly equal to this curvature term times your velocity through time squared. So in curved space-time, you need to accelerate just to stand still.
There you go. You're hearing it from the mainstream. I mean, that video has like 11 million views. Here, I'll put the link to that video for those of you who want to see the full thing. Here, let me see. I'm going to link it in the chat. Alright, I just put the video link in the description for any of you that wants to check it out. The full 17 minutes of it. I basically took out all the mind-bending explanations. And, oh, hey, how's it going? You guys want to give it a shot? I do. Okay, cool. So this actually very easy questions, 3 very easy questions, elementary level, right?
Okay, yeah.
So they have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a bottle like this and it's at rest, the water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, right? That's a fact, right? Obvious, right?
Right.
Water always goes down and pushes it to the top. Since we understand that fact about water when it's contained and at rest, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it more apparent, easier to see. But how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, which one is not in the correct orientation?
Not?
Which one is not in the correct orientation? Yeah.
Number 2?
Got it. Do you agree with her? Yeah. Why do you say number 2?
Because it's not at the bottom.
Exactly. The water can't stick to the top, right? It would just go down like this if it was like. So I actually took it like this. Right. So I took the, holding it like that. Right? Pretty easy, right? Yeah. So another thing about water is that it always finds its level. Have you ever heard water always finds its level when it's at rest, for example?
Okay.
So I could deviate the bottle, but water always finds its level. You know. So what could be another word for level? If we had to use a different word, like one of these.
Stimmy. I don't know.
It's a word, like not.
Or a definition or word for level. What could be your definition for level? Like if we had a level surface. Balance is a good one, right? The one word definition for level is horizontal. Because we could have a straight line that's on a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line, you know? That's in the water shows us that, right? That's why we use these in construction, right? So since we understand what level means, right? Especially when water's at rest and contained, which one of these 2 represents level as we know it, A or B? When we're looking at the water, by the way. You guys come take a look. I mean, you guys know what level means, right?
Yeah.
So,
Wouldn't that just be
Now that
this?
you explained it,
okay, yeah.
okay,
Do you guys
yeah.
agree with her?
I think so.
Hey, right? Yeah, another definition for level will be no deviation in elevation, right? So this one clearly shows a deviation, you know, and this one doesn't, right? So it's obvious, right? This is what level means. So this 3rd one is actually the hardest one, and this one's really going to test your common sense. You know, so I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph, and one of them is CGI. You guys know what CGI is? Yeah, right? You guys know what CGI is, right? So which one of these 2 is the photograph?
Well, neither of them actually. I think it's this one. Because they've never actually taken a full picture of the Earth.
Okay, so I'll go with that one.
Do you believe in the moon landing, by the way? Because they claim that they took a real photograph of the Earth from
but
1972.
There's no way for them to get the whole sphere. They have to stitch it together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Fair
I
enough.
do believe in
I don't know, dude.
that.
How she would use this. I'm like thinking about how she would use it.
Okay, so the real reason why I'm doing this, and since you're kind of there already, is that photographs of the Earth actually don't exist. Yeah. And you guys want to know why? The real reason? No, you say we can't go high enough, right? That's what you think?
Well,
Why do you think we can't get a full photograph of the Earth as a ball like this?
why? I would love to.
The simple reason and the real reason why is because these images actually defy physics. So the reason how we know that is because NASA, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they claim to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it, you know? So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the 3rd mile there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we actually went out to a giant lake that was miles across and at rest, we should be able to physically measure that curvature, but the water is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything level above it. There's not going to be any deviation because that's how water behaves. It always levels out. But they're trying to tell us that that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So in 10 miles, there should be a 66-foot drop, which is like a 6-story building. But we know that water doesn't behave like that. Like water cannot support itself and form a hump in the middle. You know, water always levels out, exactly. So a physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, will debunk the globe. You know, physics, water. You know, so if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what's the number 1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball or a sphere, right?
This is how gravity works.
Okay, if I was to ask you guys, okay, what is gravity?
It's the force that, like, God, physics is like, my
Okay,
physics
you-
teacher's about to
you-
be
I
so
would
mad
assume-
at me right now.
I would assume that you guys believe gravity is a force that pulls objects towards the Earth.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get to to that, you guys know what a force is. What's a force? Because I want you guys to understand when we're talking about gravity, because that's one of the biggest lies, believe it or not, that fuels this model. So,
Like pull or push.
okay, I'm glad you used pull or push, right? But the reality is that pulling forces don't exist. So a pulling force claims that you can move an object without touching it, right? So apparently there's a force, like a magnetic force that affects all matter that pulls objects towards the ground, right? The reality is the only forces that exist is push. So a pressure through pressure variance. So again, if you want to move this phone, you have to apply a pressure and move it. So when you're talking about pull, like when you pull a door open, pull is only a description of direction. So when you push something towards you, you say pull. But the mechanism is push. You still have to apply a pressure on the handle and push it towards you, but we say it's pull. But pull as a force doesn't exist. So gravity, I don't know if you knew, it's a theory. Did you guys know gravity is a theory? The reason why gravity is a theory is because objects don't accelerate down in free fall because there's no force, there's no pushing against it. So the fact is, it's the Earth that's in constant motion. So the Earth is pressing up against your feet right now. It's not you pressing down against the Earth. So when you release an object, it simply loses its momentum and the Earth just catches up to it. And because we're attached to the Earth and everything that's here is attached to the Earth as well, everything just moves together, basically. So when something is independent, not attached to the Earth, again, we see that motion, you know? So the fact is, objects don't accelerate down in free fall, and it's the Earth that's in constant motion. That's why the Earth is level and not flat. Because I know a lot of you have heard of flat Earth, right? That's the biggest psyop right now, that objects accelerate down in free fall, because even flat Earthers are claiming that too now. I'm not a flat earther, by the way. Most flat earthers, over 95% of them, claim the Earth is motionless. And they don't even realize they're falling into another psyop that's the same as the globe. Again, you have to rely on magical forces that can accelerate things to the Earth, and that's not the case. Have you guys heard of Einstein's theory of relativity? Einstein's theory of relativity, right? It debunked Newton's mass attracting mass, and that's because they acknowledge that there's no acceleration in free fall. There's no forces acting on you when you're in free fall. That's why it's called free fall, because you're a free body, free from any forces. Because the force comes from the Earth, from the Earth's motion, you know, moving up against us. You know, do you guys have any questions about this topic? Have you guys heard of flat Earth? Right, I'm assuming you guys heard of it. How long ago did you guys hear about flat Earth, if I may ask? Elementary school, yeah. So I came across this in 2016, and it's been censored since day one. Let me just tell you that. So this information about the Earth, in my opinion, it was kind of like rolled out on purpose, because I think people were eventually going to come across it. So that's how they're controlling this information, with just a bunch of people that are misrepresenting. So controlled opposition, have you guys heard of that term before? So it's like a double agent, someone pretending to be, you know, something that they're not, just to bring it down from the inside, kind of like that. So there's a lot of flat earthers that misrepresent the facts, you know. They focus just on making visible observations, and all of that is just psyops. What proves the Earth is level is a physical measurement, physics, water, you know. So again, this is the #1 censored topic right now, which is one of the reasons why I'm out here.
Are other celestial bodies level, like stars?
No. So,
because how does retrograde
Yeah. Let me
work?
ask you this. You obviously, you guys all know what a rainbow is, right? Could you stand on a rainbow?
No.
Why not?
Because it's light.
Exactly. So let me show you what the stars actually look like. So this is what the stars actually look like when you zoom into them with a telescope. This is optical zoom, by the way, not digital zoom. So this is real zoom. So this is what the stars look like. They just look like Christmas lights, you know, they're just twinkling in some kind of water-like medium. Again, nobody actually knows what they are. All we know is that they're constant. That's why they're called constellations. And the planets, the reason why they're called planets, because the word planet comes from wandering star. That's what planet means. It means that these stars have their own independent circuits above us. They're not fixed with the rest of them. So that's the only difference from the planets and the stars. But they're not trillions and trillions of light years away, and they're not solid either. So what are they? I don't know. But again, that's part of the psyop. A lot of flat earthers will focus on too, like, again, you know what I'm saying? But again, the stars have nothing to do with the dimensions of the Earth we're standing on.
So you're kind of agnostic on how, like, the stars move and stuff?
No.
The theory, or...
I understand that the stars rotate above, because the Earth doesn't spin. The Earth is just simply moving up against us, but it's not spinning. So the stars just simply rotate above us. How? I don't know.
Well,
that's what we observe.
I think with how their motion works, like, gravity is the most explanatory
So if I was
theory.
to ask, what gravity are you talking about? Newtonian or Einsteinian?
I think Einstein had a better prediction of stuff with that force, because the way that they retrograde their circular motion, like the reason it's not constant, is because, like, the gravitational model predicts it the best. I mean, that's why it's the most commonly accepted, because it explains explains it the best.
So you believe the Earth spins?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you think that's okay. So
Well,
if I was
the
to ask you,
stars, they have movement that's best explained by like a relative gravity theory.
if I was to ask you, again, respectfully, I'm not trying to like, what reasoning would you have to offer that makes you believe that the Earth is spinning?
That the Earth is spinning.
Or what practical experiment could you refer me to that tells you that the Earth is spinning?
Well, we are able to like observe our celestial positions, so like how we see the sun, I would say, are the most.
So what if the sun's moving, like I said, and it's the stars that rotate? How can we prove that it's
So
one or the
would
other?
that make you think that we're the center of the universe?
So here's my thing. So what's outside of so again we go to physics. Second law of thermodynamics. High pressure will always move to the lower pressure unless you have a solid barrier separating them. Right. That's how you're able to put air in your tire in your car and it maintains because there's a solid barrier. When you put a hole or poke a hole in that tire, what happens to the air inside the tire? Exactly, it equilibrates because again you need a solid barrier. So they're trying to tell us that outer space is a negative pressure next to the Earth's 14.7 psi without a solid barrier. That would mean that the air will be rushed out instantly into the vacuum of space, right? The fact is, air pressure requires containment, which tells me that the Earth is being contained somehow. So I don't know how it's being contained. I don't know what this container looks like. Nobody actually knows. But the fact that we have air pressure here tells me that. So what's outside of the Earth, like, you know, the universe is telling us, all of that is just religion. It's just made up. It's just a fairy tale. So again, they'll show us CGI planets like this, right? NASA or Jupiter. Like the fact is, again, they're just with lights like every other star. Again, you can't stand on light. You know what I'm saying? It's not a physical terra firma things that are, you know, that's all religion. What's outside of the Earth? So the Earth, as we know it, it's the only thing that exists. Like it's basically this is it. So what's out? Can we get outside of it? I don't know. We got to find this container first.
So you do think that we're the center of the universe?
Oh yeah, this is all that exists, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all we know.
So there could be other civilizations here on Earth that are just across the way, you know. So I don't know if you guys heard of the Antarctic Treaty. No, so the Antarctic Treaty prevents any independent exploration. So if you were a millionaire, if I was a millionaire, and we wanted to explore this place, there's restrictions. There's a lot of areas that are restricted. We won't be allowed. So this has to be like a mass movement if you actually want to find out what this place actually is and what the dimensions of the Earth is. It's not going to take just one person, you know, especially with all the restrictions, you know, from the government and other countries involved as well. It's going to have to be a mass effort, you know. Part of the reason why I'm out here, again, because it is being censored, and we just need numbers to understand this fact, you know what I'm saying?
So this is like this is what like everyone thought like 1,000 years ago.
Oh yeah. I would say all of those stories from more than 200 years, I don't believe any stories that are told to me about history, but that's just my way of thinking. But I have heard those stories. I think that's just to detract us from that fact. Like, oh, they used to think that, so now we figure it out it's not that, so that people don't look twice. So they're told so that you don't look twice, basically.
What would like the government have to gain from us believing in like gravity and physics and stuff?
So it comes down to basically your common sense. So who's easier to control? Someone that's gullible or someone that has common sense? Who's easier to control?
Well, I mean, wouldn't we be believing, like, it seems like you have a theory as well as like the commonly accepted one, so you're choosing to believe either one.
No. I don't have beliefs, and I'm gonna tell you why. Either I know something or I don't. I know water always finds its level when contained and at rest. So I know that every lake on Earth doesn't have any deviation in elevation on the surface of water. However, they're trying to tell me that, hey, it actually does have deviation, 8 inches per mile squared, and increases the further you go out. So if somebody's making a claim contrary to my experience and my understanding of physics, then the burden of proof is on them to prove that water does bend at 8 inches per mile squared. You know. So NASA.
What about like the Great Lakes? Like, why can't we see all the way across?
I'm glad that you brought that up. So if I was to hold this bottle and move it away from you, like further, what's going to happen in your field of view with this bottle?
It's going to get smaller.
Exactly. It's going to start to shrink, right? Is it physically shrinking or not?
But if you had, like, we can see airplanes very far
and they
away.
eventually go over the horizon. So the horizon is our limit to perspective.
Okay.
So there's a limit to how far we can see, and the horizon is that. When you increase your altitude, you're also increasing your angle of view, and you can see further in front of you, not below you. The horizon never drops below your feet, which should happen if you lived on a globe. Because if you're on a globe and you elevate, the horizon should drop down below your feet. We live on a level plane that's in constant motion and contained, but The full dimensions of the Earth, I don't know what they are.
So
And-
it's just a plane.
yeah, it's like a.
So then how can you go across the whole?
Oh, you're talking about circumnavigation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't go with any map, you know, because again, at the end of the day, nobody knows the dimensions of the Earth. But circumnavigation could easily be explained with the north being at the center. I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this map, but this is a PSYOP 2. I don't claim this map. I'm only going to use it for. So if the north is at the center, right, and we go east and west, that would just be circles around the center. Nobody has ever circumnavigated north to south. Doesn't exist. That would prove the globe, technically, right? But that doesn't exist. Like south and then come back up north, like on a ball like this.
Like from Africa to.
No, like if you just go south, you should come back up north, right, on a ball. If you just keep going south, you should eventually come back north, right? The reality is nobody's ever done that, because if you go south, who knows what the fuck will happen. They don't let you. Again, that's where the Antarctic Treaty comes in. Antarctica could be a ring around us that's holding the water in, but at the end of the day, again, nobody knows if this even exists. You know what I'm saying? Like, there could be more land over here. Again, nobody knows the dimensions of the Earth. That's just a fact. You know, so this is a PSYOP too as well. I don't like showing this map because a lot of this, you know, this is how they're trying to control this information by showing this map. But this is a PSYOP too. This is no different than
this work.
I'm sorry.
Like, or how's the compass work?
Oh, magnetic north. Yeah, it will be at the center.
So okay, so like if I have a compass here, this is magnetic north.
Yeah.
This is magnetic south.
Well, there's no south pole. I don't know if you knew that. South pole doesn't exist. South is just opposite of north.
Okay.
So it's just lines away from the north. That's what south is. Yeah. There's no south pole. You know, that you could go around the south pole, right? That doesn't exist. There's only one pole, and that's the north. And that doesn't fit the globe Earth model either, obviously. And that's the reason why they don't let us go south, because it'll debunk the globe. You know, what the fuck south? I don't know. Again, I would like to know, you know. Get a bunch of people, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, right? That'd be cool. Take some cameras and go see what we find, right? Another thing, the north is super restricted. So you think the south is restricted, the north is even more restricted. So what's creating this magnetic field, right? Who knows? Some people, flat earthers, like to claim it's a mountain. That's what they claim, Mount Mural. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. So again, I don't go with stories and none of that. So that's just what flat earthers like to claim. The fact is, I don't know what's up north, but there is something, right? What is that? I don't know.
I'm again like interested. So you said like easier to control if it's like gullible people.
Yeah. So it's a cheap shot on a common sense when we're told that the Earth is a globe. Because if you accept, so you basically, what's more important, to trust your common sense or to trust authority? What would you go?
I think most people with like degrees in astrophysics would say it's a globe, and I mean, I think we fund education for public betterment. Like if you go to the doctor, right? Like I'm not sure you would know everything that they're giving you.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But I mean, some of the stuff, like I think civilization kind of requires a common knowledge. So like there are some things that are like commonly accepted as true, even though it's not personally tested, right?
I would say that most people accept the ball Earth because of consensus, because the majority believe it. If the majority believe that 2 + 2 = 6, for example, in a different country, would you accept that 2 + 2 = 6?
Well, I think that's one's an example of something objectively wrong, and the other is
that's why I'm here demonstrating objectivity with water.
So I'm just interested, like specifically from us believing in things like gravity, like what does that do? Like, I think it would take a large amount of resources to get a population to believe that. So like, what's the use? Like, why would you do that?
I don't know if you knew, NASA gets over $20 billion a day. So that's over 70 million every day. So every day they get $70 million from our tax. You don't think that's enough money to create a production, you know, with the space station and all that?
But like, why? Like, what would they have to gain from that?
Well, first of all, money. I mean, we know people lie for money. That's one thing.
That's
true. Second, I'm not the one lying, so I don't know exactly why they're lying. Some people think that, they're lying to us to protect us from what's the reality, you know, what the real reality is. So some people might not be able to take it, right? Like, like what is this? So some people say they could be lying to us to protect us, right? In my opinion, we're being lied to just to control someone. Like, why do con artists con? I was to ask
they
you that.
have financial gain from it. And
I would
guess,
say this is the one thing that has the most financial gain, if you ask me. With
Like-
NASA and the military complex and all that.
yeah, but I mean, the military kind of already like makes a lot, and we know what they're doing, you know. So I don't think, I mean, at least the U.S. government, like, it's not like they're already spending in our best interest. So I would just be like interested, like, what specifically. I mean, like, it seems like there's a lot of research and stuff. So like, why they would do all that work?
It's because
to get us to
I'll try to simplify it. So if they could get people to convince them in something so fundamental like this is not actually what you experience, then you're gonna trust authority over your own common sense. Wouldn't you agree? Right? If you dismiss water being level, for example, you're gonna trust authority over your own common sense. What that leads to is that you're gonna trust them on other subjects as well. Because why would they lie to me about this if they're not lying to me about the Earth, right?
So it's like, if we can get you to believe me on this, we can get you to
Exactly. It's kind of like I said, it's a cheap shot on our common sense from a very young age. Because if they were starts telling us this when we're adults and we comprehend physics, nobody's gonna accept it. And that's why they tell us when we're 5 years old and they tell us about Santa Claus, you know. And kids believe Santa Claus, even though Santa Claus, the whole story of Santa Claus defies physics. I mean, flying reindeer, you know, infinite size bag, you know, they could put, you know, all that defies physics. So, but children believe it. And again, with the globe, that defies physics. Outer space, water bending, objects accelerating down in free fall, all of that defies physics, but grown adults believe it. You know, so that just shows me, again, not to disrespect anyone, it just shows me that you're gullible still. You might be an expert on certain fields, right? Like in your you know, whatever job you work, but when it comes to fundamental facts about our reality, you're gullible. You know?
Well, I mean, like, how would we, if we're not trusting authority, like, how would we, because I think most of, at least public education is through some governmental structure, like, how do we learn all these fundamental?
So I would say education as we know it is not education, it's indoctrination. Because we're not being taught how to think, we're being told what to think. So we're just being told things without any practical demonstrations or any logic or reason, and we just accept those things. When you start asking questions logically, the teachers, you know, eventually kick you out. I'm pretty sure everybody has gone through some stuff like that, right? When you start asking the teacher logical questions about what they're showing, and they can't answer it, they just get mad, right? So again, it's we're just told, we're just taught what to think, not how to think. So if you ask me, schools are doing the opposite of what we should be. So if we eliminate schools and just focus on practical, you know, hands-on learning, the world will be a much better place. So schools are part of the problem.
Okay, like the education style.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I mean, from my knowledge of like indoctrination in education, it usually furthers a certain agenda, you know, like, for example, like what the South is doing in like history classes and stuff.
Okay,
although I guess you said you didn't really.
I don't accept the stories as
history,
fact.
yeah.
No, they're just stories.
Which, I mean, there's some truth to that because anyone with the power to tell a historical fact has some sort of agenda to push. But what I'm struggling to understand is like, it seems like so much work to get us to believe something that doesn't help them further something else, you know? Like, if they could do all that work, you would think it would be for us to have some belief in something that would benefit them. Whereas, like, yeah, I mean, they could get us,
So we're born into a debt currency. I don't know if you knew that, right? The U.S. is in trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, right? Because we're using Federal Reserve money, right? Most people don't understand that and don't really care, but it's the very reason why taxes are so high, why the economy is going to shit, right? And because people trust these authorities over their own common sense, they don't ask questions. So our whole lives are being affected from just accepting what we're told. And again, the globe Earth is not that significant, but if you do believe that the Earth is something that it's not, then you're going to be easily swayed on other subjects as well. So again, it's the economy, is how they're enslaving us, but by getting us to accept it without any questions or logic, basically. So that's what it comes down to, control, using money. Again, I don't know if you knew, money doesn't actually have real value. It's not even backed by gold anymore. So they're just printing it out of thin air. And that's one of the reasons too why exactly, now with Bitcoin, they're trying to go digital now, you know, and with a press of a button, they can make $1 million. Like, you know, it's just a shambles. This whole system is going to shit. And the main reason is because people are not using common sense. And it starts with the fundamentals of our reality. I'm sorry?
I feel like the system's not really going to shit.
I mean, you look around, homelessness is increasing. Like, it's crazy, man.
I mean, I'm glad I'm here. I don't know what's true, bro. I don't
So
care.
let me ask you all of you this: is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth and our purpose here, or are you guys 100% convinced that it's evolved?
I think the government lies to us about a lot.
Okay,
of
so you're
things.
open. That's good.
I think the government's always going to be corrupt, but I just don't know why you're focusing on this specific thing. Like, there are actual things that affect us. Like, not to say that this is like what you've been really interested in is like useless,
Right.
but there are bigger things like how, like our homelessness, and also how our economic like system is set up is to disadvantage the majority of the people.
Yeah, it is.
So like, why not focus on? Oh, and like we could go back in history and look at like things like how we as a government like poisoned. What's it called? It's in Missouri. Why can't I think of the town? But we poisoned an entire town just to
Right.
test our weapons. Like,
Okay.
there are bigger things where
Okay.
it's like we should be focusing on how to help the majority
Yeah, I
of people.
agree.
Where it's like, okay, let's say the Earth is not a globe.
Okay.
How does that change?
Okay. So again, it goes back to if it was an adult, right, trying to again help all these people, you know, through the economy and everything. But this adult believed in Santa Claus still. You know, like, would you take him serious? Like, let's be real. Like, if an adult actually believed in Santa Claus and, you know, he still wrote letters to him and everything, would you take him serious, right? Like, when it comes to how to live life and you know, life advice.
Well, I think that is kind of a false comparison, where it's like, instead of looking at it as a person who's trying to live,
Right.
you're looking at them like they're dumb.
Okay.
And I think that's not a right way.
Let me rephrase that now.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do, you're trying to run without learning how to walk.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because this is so fundamental to us. We live on Earth every day. We stand on it every day, right? So if we believe something that contradicts our experience, again, water being level, and you know, stuff like that. For example, air pressure needing containment, meaning outer space cannot exist. Next, fundamental stuff like that. Then we're gonna be swayed into believing other ideas like the Big Bang and evolution, for example, right? And when people start buying into these ideas of the Big Bang and evolution, and life has no real meaning and it's just a free-for-all, then you're gonna have a lot of narcissistic people that are gonna try to control others because they believe YOLO, right?
Well,
Right?
do you think you would do that? If you didn't have purpose, you would be
A lot of people are like that, believe it or not. I'm not like that, but there is a lot of people like that, you know? And believe it or not, I was actually kind of like that, actually, now that you're mentioning that. I'm actually vegan now, and this realization is one of the main reasons why I even consider being vegan. Because I know that animals are just like me, they're just in a different body. We're all having this experience, right? So this realization actually pushed me towards veganism because, again, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck, like, you know what I'm saying? But knowing that, holy shit, we're created, this is a creation, that changed my whole perspective on life, basically, and what this place actually is. Now I'm looking at life different, like, holy shit, we should all just be growing food and not rely on an economy. When you rely on an economy for your needs, you're a slave.
No,
You're a slave.
we agree on that one.
So we're slaves. Exactly. If we're relying on money for our needs, we're a slave. We need to grow our own food, build our own houses, and an economy should be there for fun, for your wants, for your addictions, for not for your necessities. When you start relying on an economy for your necessities, you're a slave. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah. It comes down to fundamentals. And I think if people, again, if you're trying to run, trying to help others without helping out yourself, you're not going to be able to help anyone. You got to be able to help yourself first.
Well, what does someone do if they're not like physically able to grow food, like ideally?
How do you set that?
Well, then that's where good people come in, I would say. There's a lot of good people. I mean, I like to think I'm a good person. I will help out someone that's in need, you know, especially that's
Are
disabled.
there enough good people?
I think so. You see that now, even how corrupt society is, there's still a lot of people trying to help. Even though there's the financial restrictions and all that, people still help. Now imagine there was no financial restrictions and everybody was just being independent, right? A lot of people will be helping. A lot. You know? That will solve itself, you know, easily.
Yeah.
You know? So
I think there's some good things to having like some countries have free healthcare and schools and stuff. I mean, I think there's some benefit to that, like being taken care of as a society.
I would say that kind of mentality, again, I'm not trying to like disrespect or anything, but that kind of mentality is what leads us, like getting too comfortable in a situation like that, it's what leads us to situations that we're in like right now. You know, we can't rely on someone else for our needs. That's what it comes down to.
I would actually say it's
Sorry?
It's not bad right now.
I mean,
I'm happy.
I know you are, but majority of people are suffering. You know,
I would
believe
think
it or
it's
not.
actually the opposite.
I would say the majority.
Because I would think it's a failure of the government currently that is not giving people their needs. And so, I mean, I guess you have some validity in saying, like, that if we all relied on ourselves, it might be better, but I see a better situation, like some set structures that actually house people.
I would call those communities, and we don't need an economy to form communities. You know, we could easily form communities without money. You know, it just takes resources and labor. You know what I'm saying? And it's only going to be hard in the first year or first couple of years, because once you have trees planted, they just bear fruit after that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't we have trees everywhere, you know, that are fruit trees instead of just these synthetic trees? Or you know, yeah, but we could easily plant fruit trees everywhere and end this world hunger crisis that, you know, that exists. But again, it's because the economy exists that restricts us from doing that. You know?
Yeah, it helps like people with more power stay in power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they control
like human nature just wanting to take power.
Exactly. How do you control animals? You do it with food. Yeah, it's the same thing with humans. That's how they're controlling us. Look what happened with the toilet paper crisis in 2020, right? Do you guys remember that? And how crazy people went, how high the prices of toilet paper went, right? And all that. Now imagine food was to be like cut off or something. You know? They could easily create, you know, hysteria, you know. And that was kind of like a test with the whole, you know.
Although it seems like, I mean, at least from like country research, the countries with the lowest starvation rates have the highest government subsidies on food.
Okay.
Like they do the most work to provide people food. So like if you leave it up to only communities, you would think there may be some inherent power structures that resurface, right? Like shouldn't there be a way to make sure everyone is getting their needs met?
Oh yeah, there should be. If you ask me. Is there? No.
No,
but
it's not a perfect one. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
So do you grow your own food?
Oh no, I wish. To buy a piece of land right now,
Yeah.
oh my god. You got an arm and a leg basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not suitable for the average person right now, the system. It's there to keep the majority down and only a few on top, you know, that benefit from the rest. Yeah, no, let's say you were on top, right? Like benefiting from all this, getting your $10,000 check every month. Would you ever go against the system? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
That's what I'm saying. So it's gonna take real people like me and you guys that actually work, you know, and actually, you know, live in the system and struggle to actually make a change to, you know, to spread that kind of awareness, you know, because people in power are not gonna do it. They're gonna avoid it, and they're gonna just try to word salad their way and give explanations to why is this way and we could get out of it, and you know, and it's just bullshit. Politics is just bullshit. You know?
It's like a big game.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. It is. It is. What do mafias do? They tax you every month, right? For protection, right?
They have like
for protection from them. Same thing with the government. They tax us up the ass for protection from them. They're the ones that create all these crises and then offer the protection. You know what I'm saying?
At least we're here.
At least I'm able to come out and speak to people, you know, and spread this awareness, and hopefully, you know, it triggers something. So look here, these are the these are the 6 main proofs. You guys could probably share that one here. The 6 main proofs are in there. Here, I have more. You guys don't live together, do you? No. Yeah, you have more. So let's say hypothetically, if I was right and we were being lied to, would this be something important to know? Do you guys think? Yeah, right? A lot of people would say that it's not important, right? But in my opinion, it's the biggest lie because it's the most easiest to prove, in my opinion. You know, so
I would just love for you to look into chemistry as well.
Oh, okay.
Just like for future reference, because water has properties of like cohesion. So just if you look at how it works with, like, if you have it in a glass tube, it acts not like a flat object. So I would love for you to check that out.
Right. So you're saying that if we increase like the temperature, for example, of the water, it could change its
no.
shape?
I'm talking about how the chemical structures combine.
So what in chemistry, what could we add to water to make it bend, or what are you saying, if I may ask, like when it comes to chemistry and water?
So have you ever looked at a meniscus?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not flat like how you're saying.
Yeah, I would agree because of surface tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's only in small scale though.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I would love for you to like. I would love for you to talk to like people in NASA. They would totally love to have.
I actually go to universities. It's the main place I go to,
Yeah.
universities. You guys can check out some of my conversations I have with university
Absolutely.
students. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, you guys have any questions for me before you guys go? I mean,
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
okay, just before you guys go, I mean, 'cause I know I didn't get to this, but I know the horizon, right? How would you guys describe the horizon?
This horizon?
I mean, in general. Yeah. Right. Horizontal. I would say that's where the word horizon comes from. Horizontal, right? So it's a physical impossibility when you elevate and you're standing on a ball for the horizon to rise in front of you. And that's what happens. If you're standing on a ball and you elevate, the horizon should go below your feet eventually. But that never happens in reality because you're observing an extended plane. And when you increase your altitude, you increase your angle of view and you're able to see further. And that's pretty much it. The horizon is the limit to our perspective.
Can I visualize this on your
Sure.
circle?
Sure.
Just to like make more sense of it.
Yeah.
Do you have like a globe? Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
So when let's say you're standing very high up. Wouldn't your field of view be blocked by this, right? If your field of view is like, this is a crude
No,
shape.
if you're standing on top
Uh-huh.
and we're looking straight out, we should be looking that way or this way.
Uh-huh.
So what are you saying? So the horizon should never rise to your level, to your eye level.
To your level? Well, I mean, we're so tiny compared to the Earth that
Right.
like if you super zoomed in on a circle, it would look flat. Like even this, if you zoom.
You should look this up. Circles are not made up of, they're actually made up of curved lines. They're not made up of straight lines. Tiny little, circles made up of tiny little curved lines.
Yeah, but the like curvature, eventually, the closer you get, would be flat because it has a constant curvature, right? So like if you zoom.
So you're saying a constant curvature means horizontal?
No, it means that since the angle is the same, the further you zoom into it, the less, right? Since it changes at a constant rate, like the less you would see the change.
Right.
And since we're like a teeny tiny speck, like if the Earth was a circle, like we wouldn't be able to observe it anyways.
Right.
So like the field of view, that's just what because you'd think it would be blocked, right? So you probably would just see, just from like thinking how looking works. So I'm just having a little trouble understanding. It's like, yeah, you probably would just see something similar to this. If you look at the scale, right?
Okay, here may I ask you this. If we could see the curvature, right, should we be able to measure it?
Like measure the curvature?
If we could see it, should we be able
Should
to
we
measure
be
it?
able to measure it? Yeah.
Right? So it goes back down to this.
I mean, I think
a
they
physical
have
measurement of water, right?
where they've also like, you can put, forgot how this worked, but basically you get two lights, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you have it very far, it will get lower.
So there's a reason why those
However,
are being pushed, and I'm gonna tell you why. What happens if I shine a laser through water? Does it go straight?
It refracts.
Exactly. So you know the air is like moisture, right?
Uh-huh.
So what happens if you shine a laser through the air?
Well, it refracts randomly, so
Exactly.
it won't be constant.
So exactly, we're not gonna get a definitive measurement like that.
Well, I think they do get a constant result in those experiments.
I would say all those measurements are inconclusive, and they're inconclusive for a reason, because obviously they're using lasers and they don't want a conclusive answer. So you've probably seen the Netflix documentary, no? That's what
Oh,
they
I
do.
haven't, but I've just heard of
That's
it.
a mockumentary, by the way. Those are the flat earthers, right? I would say flat earth is mainstream. There's mainstream flat earthers, right? And all of those are just psyops. All those channels are just there to distract and just talk shit, basically. They're misrepresenting people like me and misrepresenting facts like this.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm into the like agnostic, but done a lot of research on it. I commend you there.
Oh, yeah,
Have you looked at like as much? I think when I'm looking into something, I try to look at both sides.
Oh, yeah,
Have
I
you
did.
like looked at both?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was a die-hard believer in aliens and outer space and all that, so it wasn't easy for me to accept this. Because trust me, I was, and I would question too when I would see outer space videos when I used to believe it. I would question like, why the fuck are they showing us CGI? And then I would reason myself that the real footage is probably not that good, so they're showing us a CGI version of it, right? The fact is that footage doesn't exist. It's just cartoons. So again, it takes a lot for you to actually accept. You have to be an honest person. You have to be honest with yourself and trust your common sense. If you don't do those things, you're never gonna accept this for what it is. You're always gonna just believe what you're told. And again, it comes back down to, do you trust your common sense or do you trust authority? That's what it comes down to. Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you.
All right, man.
What's
You guys
your
take
name?
care. My name is William.
William, I'm Rude.
Yeah. No, yeah. Nice to meet you guys. And thanks for the chat. You guys take care.
Thank you.
All right. All right. All right. So probably. No, yeah, that was good. That was a good conversation. Probably wait like another 15-20 minutes, see if I could get one more, and then probably call it. We kind of got a little bit off track, you know, with the economy and stuff, but he was still kind of related, you know, because he wanted to know the reason why they're lying, right? And it does come back to the way we're living, you know, in society with, you know, being dominated by an economy, you know, all of that. So it's still kind of like, you know, still part of the why, you know, in a way. You know, it's about control at the end of the day. Why do people lie in general, right? To take advantage of someone else. That's why people lie. Either to hide something that they did, or to take advantage of someone else. Like it's always to gain something. Like people don't lie for no reason. I mean, some people might, you know, which would be fucking weird. Maybe they're lying just to troll, right? I don't know. But most people that lie is to gain something, you know. Usually. People like to serve their own interests. I know I've done it. Oh yeah, we're all guilty of that too, you know. I'm not perfect, you know. Nobody's perfect. You know, but it's about realizing, you know, what's going on and doing something about it, right? Something, you know, just not doing nothing, you know. When you realize something, it's probably worse, you know, in my opinion, than when you were ignorant, or, you know. That's where you could say that ignorance is bliss in a way, because once you know and you don't do anything about it, like imagine the kind of, I mean, if you have any remorse, right, or any conscience, you would feel guilty. I mean, I would. If I didn't do anything, you know, I feel like I'll feel helpless. I'll feel like, I don't know.
Nope, I'm not.
You're not? Oh man, that's not good.
Boys, they know more than we do.
Right? Yeah. I'm asking 3 very easy elementary level questions just to see if people could get 2 of 3. You guys want to give it a shot? Yeah? All right, cool. So they have to do with the orientation of water, right? When we have air and water in a bottle like this and it's at rest, the water will always go down and push the air to the top, right? Regardless of the orientation of the water, of the bottle, the water will always go down and push the air to the top, right? Since we understand that fact about water when it's contained, how I'm showing you these 2, I painted the water blue with food coloring to make it easier to see, but how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, which one is not in the correct orientation?
This one here.
Which one is not in the correct?
Not. What do you mean? Not facing down?
Yeah, because if we understand water always goes down and pushes the air to the top regardless of the orientation, right? Water always shows us the direction of down, right? Since we know that fact, out of these 2 water bottles, which one am I holding and not in the correct orientation? Yeah, you got it. Why did you pick this one?
Because it goes up, no? Because the air bubbles, right? Or no?
Because this is down.
Exactly. So the water can't stick to the top of the bottle, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
impossible. So because if this was right side up, the water would just fall into the air.
Yeah, you're right.
You know
you're
what I'm
right.
saying?
Okay.
So I actually took it like this,
Oh.
right? Because again, water shows us the correct direction of down always when it's in the water. Yeah, right.
Wow.
If I was to show you the picture like this, you know, you would know that the water can't stick to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's again, right? Pretty easy, right? You guys get it, right? Pretty easy. So this second one is easier. Another thing about water, it always finds its level, right? So I could deviate the bottle and the surface always levels out, right? So what could be another word for level? If we had to use a different word. So if we had a surface that was level, you know, balance is a good one, yeah. So horizontal will be the one word definition, because if we have a straight line that's on a slope, it's not level. It has to be horizontal straight line, you know, and water shows us that, right? Especially when it's at rest. So since we understand water always finds its level, especially when it's at rest, which one of these two represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? A or B? A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys agree, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the obvious one because there's no deviation in elevation. It's perfectly horizontal, right? So this last one is actually the hardest one. Yeah, exactly. So I have two images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them is a photograph and one of them is CGI. You guys know what CGI is? Yeah. Okay, so which one of these two is the photograph?
This is the photograph.
Yeah, which one of these two is the photograph? Because one of them is a photograph and one of them is CGI.
Photograph. Oh. What is CGI?
CGI is a computer-generated image, so it's like a realistic cartoon.
Realistic.
It's like
okay.
Photoshop, yeah, you can say.
Okay, so this one.
You think this is a photograph?
Yeah, I think that's a photograph.
I think that's photograph, that's true.
Okay, so.
Wait.
Yeah, photograph is the same thing, yeah.
This is CGI.
No, I think that's CGI.
No, this is CGI because you can see the color.
Okay.
No, which one is it? Which one is it?
Okay, so it was actually a trick question. They're both CGI.
Oh.
Yeah. So the real reason, actually, I don't know if you guys knew, but photographs of the Earth actually don't exist. These are official NASA images. So this is from 2002 and this is from 2012, and they admit that they make these in a computer. So a real photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist.
Oh.
And the reason why is because these images actually defy physics.
Okay.
You guys want to know how we know that? Again, we go back to water. So NASA claims that they have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth. They're supposedly flying around it, right? So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,159 miles, which means that there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases. So in the first mile is an inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake to physically measure for this curvature, again, the water of the lake, the water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel or level to anything, you know, horizontal above
I'm
it.
not smarter than the 5th grade.
But they're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles, which defies physics, especially how water behaves. Water will always form a level surface when it's contained and at rest. So they're trying to tell us that every lake on Earth is bending 8 inches per mile square. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe Earth, physical measurement of the Earth. You know, so if I was to ask you,
Is the Earth flat or round?
it's not flat or round. So I'm gonna tell you that it's level. It's level, and I'm gonna tell you the difference between level and flat. So something that's flat, again, I could have it on a slope. It's flat, but it's not level, right? Level has to do with orientation. So the Earth has orientation because the Earth has motion. So in order for something to have orientation, it needs to have direction. It needs to have motion. So the Earth is pressing up against your feet right now. So what they call gravity, right? They say that, oh, when you release an object, this object accelerates down to the Earth, and it's the opposite. It's the Earth that comes up to meet it when you release an object. So it's the Earth that's in motion, and that's why the Earth is level. It's not flat. So
the Earth is going up.
yes, it's moving. Relative to us, it's pressing up against your feet right now.
So wouldn't so if airplanes, right?
Yeah.
They're up in the sky, wouldn't the Earth go up?
That's a good question, but I don't know if you knew, airplanes they need wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they need wings?
To fly, no?
Yeah, and the way that happens is the air, because the the earth is pressing up, right? It creates a pressure gradient with the air. I don't know if you knew, when you elevate in a mountain, there's a lower pressure when you go on top of a mountain. That's because there's a pressure gradient because the air is being pushed. So airplanes, if you take the wings, the air cannot push up on the wings anymore, and then the earth will crash it. Exactly. So the air that's being pushed up by the earth is also pushing up on the wings on airplanes. So when helicopters fly, same thing. They push off of the air that's being pushed up by the earth. And that's why we have a pressure gradient.
That's a big.
Yeah, it's the biggest lie on earth, what the earth actually is.
That's a big debate we have in our house.
Oh.
Is it round or is it flat?
I'm glad. I like.
It's flat. No, it's round.
So this is it's actually the #1 censored topic right now online. So you're never gonna hear this in the mainstream, especially the physics of water and someone like me talking about this. You're always gonna get somebody ridiculing it or just dismissing it. Nobody's taking it serious in the mainstream because that's part of the censoring. They're censoring it by ignoring it. That's how they're censoring it. So channels like mine will never get recommended to anyone on YouTube. The only way my channel could get recommended is real people like yourselves sharing it with others. So YouTube will never share my channel, in other words. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the censoring as well. It's trying to silence people like myself, that are doing this. So there's a lot of fake flat earthers, I would call them. Again, real flat earthers, in my opinion, don't even call themselves flat earthers. That's just a term that was used, again, to ridicule and dismiss, basically. Like, oh, you're a flat earther, ha 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 ha, and then that's it, right? But again, it's just name calling, which is childish. You know what I'm saying? Again, physics proves that we don't live on a ball. You know what I'm saying? So here, let me give you my flyer. Do you guys have any questions before you guys go about this topic? Maybe you could share this with the discussions that you're having. You guys are all together, right? So yeah, you can check out my channel. I go to universities mainly.
About Earth.
Yeah.
You can check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, so you guys take care, man. Yeah. All right.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All right, so I think I'm gonna start. How much time do I got? Yeah, it's getting close to that time already. Let me go over some of the comments real quick, see if there's any questions. All right, so let me check out. Truth and justice. You should know only Jesus can save you. Happy unbelief. That's funny. Oh, that's funny because I laughed and then your next message was not a laughing matter. Truth and justice. Max Neese, aircraft are not made like birds, but function more like flying squirrels. Sure, yeah, you can say that. Yeah. That's true, Piper. The planes are also applying a pressure up. And that's true because they don't fly 100% level airplanes. They fly with their nose slightly tilted up. So technically, they're in an upwards trajectory, right? So technically, right, because they're like 1 or 2 degrees pointed up. They're not at 0 degrees level. They'll start to lose altitude, I believe, obviously, because in order to fly level, they gotta point that nose slightly up. So again, showing you that they're compensating for that motion, as well as the buoyant force when flying airplanes. packing some of this stuff already. If somebody approaches before I'm done, then good. If not, that's gonna probably be it. Yeah, I was just doing questions. Here, you guys could take the info with you. Okay. Yeah. You guys want to try it? Let me see. To be honest, I'm already going to run up. Here, I'll give you guys the information. You guys can try. Okay. Just like a video? Yeah. It's on YouTube. Okay, yeah, you guys can see what I do.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty. Alright, that's gonna be it. Thanks again for everybody that showed up. Even the trolls, believe it or not. But yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.